want to show you all how I am currently building out my Sony FX30 for client work. Now, whether you're using this video for entertainment or if you're using it for inspiration, stick around to the end where I'm going to touch on some special considerations as well as tips on how you can make your rig even better than mine. This video will be broken down into 3 parts. First, we got our base, then we got our camera, and then we have our accessories. From the bottom up, my Sony FX30 rig consists of a Kessler craned quick stand at the very bottom. On top of that is a base plate with rod rail clamps by Small Rig. On top of that is a Small Rig quick release arc type, as well as some 6-inch carbon fiber rods, which are also by Small Rig. Everything that I speak about will be linked down in the description below. Before I move on from the actual base plate, I do want to highlight that the Kessler crane quick stand allows for you to place your entire rig down on flat surfaces without it wobbling in one direction or another. I also want to highlight that at the bottom of this stand is an arc Swiss plate. So you can also place the entire rig down on top of your tripod system if it matches this type of release system. Additionally, this top plate may seem a bit redundant, but it allows for you to quickly release your camera and go from the full rig setup to a running gun setup in a matter of seconds. Oh, and before I forget, try to use 2 screws at the bottom in order to keep your rig from twisting from side to side. Of course, I'm using a Sony FX30, which is inside of a Small Rig 4183, or a full cage for the FX30/the FX3. Although it's a bit heavy, my current choice of lens is the Sigma Art 20-70 2.8. which ends up being an effective range of 35 to 105 millimeter. And so while it doesn't necessarily cover the 35 millimeter, it does cover the 50 and the 85, and it works well for my applications. This setup is topped off with the Nissi Stinger top handle, along with the cold shoe adapter that comes along with it. For the accessories, I'm actually gonna speed this up a bit. First things first, we have our handle. How are we gonna add an additional point of contact to our actual rig? For this, I decided to go with a Small Rig rod to rosette mount, along with the Nissi Rig left side rosette wooden handle grip. For the sake of this rig, I decided to use the DJI Lav system for audio. Now, the reason I decided to attach this to an additional cold shoe adapter is because honestly, I would not trust my receiver inside of this cage. If I wasn't using the DJI, I would either be using a shotgun microphone or I will be using the line from my actual recorder going directly into my camera. For the monitor, I am using an Atomos Shinobi inside of this Nissi cage. The Atomos Shinobi inside of this Nissi cage pairs nicely with the Small Rig cold shoe to hot lock 3514 Bravo. Now all we have to do is slide, tighten, and lift. Before we power this all up, the question becomes whether to keep the screen flipped in or whether to flip it all the way out. Attached is the Small Rig VB99 to the V-mount battery plate by Small Rig as well. Slide this on the rails and we're good to go. If you're using my current rig for inspiration, I have a few tips and considerations that you might want to carry with you close to the chest. But before we get to that, if you've been finding any value at all in this video, tap that like button so we can get this video in front of more people. Here are some considerations so you can build an even better rig. When it comes to the handling system, note that I am using a rosette mount in order to actually add this additional point of contact. However, if I was to upgrade, I would probably go with something that allows for me to rotate this handle a bit more freely. Next, when you are building your rig, make sure that you have this lever facing backwards. Otherwise, it may interfere with your battery compartment. I want to thank you for tuning in, and I hope you feel as if this was a good use of your time. If you want to dive a bit deeper into this whole tech talk, make sure you click this link up right here, and I'll see you in the next one.
Atomos X battery eliminator. Condor Blue D-Tap to FZ100. Condor Blue angle HDMI cable. 1 foot right angle DC power to DC power.